The Arizona Department of Public Safety is asking the public for tips regarding an alleged predator patrol officer. Tremaine Jackson is facing 61 counts of kidnapping, harassment, and sex abuse. Though DPS says that 9 women have already come forward with allegations, investigators believe there are more out there. Joe Dana has the latest on the call for victims and the question of whether DPS could have done anything to identify this problem trooper earlier.
A law enforcement consultant we spoke with says every police agency has its own auditing process to identify problem officers, though DPS is not commenting on whether they've identified any issues. They accuse a patrol officer of propositions, inappropriate touching, and holding them against their will, all during traffic stops. The question is, are there more possible victims than the 9 women that have already come forward?
I expect there's likely other victims over the many years he's been a police officer. I hope they do come forward.
Attorneys Mark Victor and Jody Broaddus represent 2 of the accusers.
Both women are very traumatized by this whole event, everything that's happened. They've lost a lot of trust in the system.
As the search for victims continues, 12 News is also looking into whether DPS missed any red flags that would have allowed them to identify the trooper as a problem sooner. Jackson went at least a year and a half stopping women at a disproportionate rate compared to men, and as court paperwork states, Jackson generated DPS warnings that contained false information, false times, false locations, and false violations. When asked if there are any shortcomings in how Jackson was supervised, a DPS spokesperson tells 12 News, "We are always looking to improve our policies, but remember that we are dealing with human beings. Our troopers know that they will be held accountable for their actions." DPS declined to discuss the question any further.
I don't know the level of scrutiny that was given to this police officer, how long his leash was, but that's something that we need to look at as time goes by.
During the course of a given night on patrol, officers are supposed to check in every 30 minutes through the agency's computer-aided dispatch, known as CAD. Court records say Jackson regularly reset his contact timer with no location and failed to place himself on traffic stops via the CAD system. A law enforcement consultant tells 12 News that behavior alone would not necessarily tip off a supervisor that Jackson was doing anything nefarious. But it's now considered evidence in the case against him. And if you have information about other possible victims, you're asked to call 602-223-2389, or you can go to azdps.gov/Jackson. Joe Dana, 12 News.
Joe, thanks.